ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. So today we start Gita chapter 6, and this is a very important chapter because this chapter is on meditation. You have done third, fourth and fifth chapters. So those chapters are a run-up to meditation because they are the previous states of reaching that meditational exercise. Now here, first let us do a little bit of an introduction. That see, when you come to meditation, everybody thinks that if meditation is the highest to do, then why should we go through karma yoga and japa yoga and this, that and the other? You go straight to dhyan yoga because that's the best. So that is not really possible. Also, please understand that meditation is not everybody's cup of tea. It cannot. And because for meditation, you need, the primary exercise is to quieten your mind. You have to quieten your mind. And quietening the mind is not easy because the mind's nature is mercurial. The mind keeps running in all directions. It is Sankalpa Prabhavan. It goes on and on, suggesting schemes for your happiness to you. And then you leave one and take another, leave that, take another, and you carry on doing that all the time. So it's not easy, definitely, to come to a stage where your mind can be quietened is the exercise of chapter 3, 4 and 5. Now here also, never forget that Gita is being primarily addressed to a human being who is like you and me. He is not a sage, he is not a sannyasi, he is an average man of everyday world. And he is in the field of action, right in the middle of a battlefield, not only an ordinary field of action, a battlefield, and also a totally confused and broken down personality. To him, the Gita is addressed. We have to always keep that in mind. That is an essential factor. Or whenever people get confused in the Gita, they forget the first chapter. They forget the Vishad Yoga of Arjun. They forget the confusion of Arjun. And they think that anybody and anybody. No, it cannot be. So the Gita is teaching you, the first, third, fourth, fifth chapter of the Gita is teaching you how to have a absolutely ventilated mind, not a crowded mind. Not a mind that is crowded with thoughts of all kinds, but you need a mind that is quiet, peaceful, calm, and listens to your commands. That's not easy to achieve. So it slowly prepares you for chapter 6. It is to make you fit for meditation. Unless there is enough purification in the mind, you will not be able to meditate. You may have heard so many people saying, "No, I try so much, but I can't meditate. My mind runs all over the place. This is a common complaint because you have not done the upasana that the early seekers are advised. In the previous chapters, there are just upasanas advised for you to become meditation worthy. Like when you're driving out of the city, you have to make your car roadworthy. Same way, you have to check everything: engine oil, petrol, brakes, this, that, tires, pressure, this, all kind of things you check before you take the car out, isn't it? So that it doesn't fall on the wayside or break down on the wayside. So here also, that karma yoga, tirtha yatra, japa, all these things are advised to early seekers to prepare their minds for sadhana. Now, देखो, tirtha yatra is advised, but it's a very, very low kind of sadhana. It is for very early seekers, tirtha yatra, because it shows them a goal and it focuses their mind on one goal. They enjoy themselves. It's like a picnic, it's like an outing, and it's like a vacation. So they combine a vacation with their sadhana. उसको कहते हैं निम्न कोटि की साधना. तीर्थ यात्रा lot of people take, but those who cannot balance their mind, तो उनके लिए तीर्थ यात्रा होती है. After that, a little higher than that is karma yoga. So with karma yoga, that is also for ordinary seekers like us, but because we can't stay without acting, we can't stay without action. Our mind runs all over. So when we are concentrating on selfless activity for the benefit of others, then your mind calms down because you have no time for the mental suggestions that the mind keeps on saying. So there are three things that you have to have before you meditate. Number one is a healthy mind. Healthy mind means a pure mind, very, very pure mind. The number two is mental immunity from outside stimuli and outside influences. Like these days, a lot of talk of immunity. So this is not a bodily immunity, this is a mental immunity that you have to develop from the world around you. Somebody insulting you, somebody getting angry with you, somebody being unfair to you. You see how it affects the mind, and then the mind reacts. So you have to develop a mind which will put these things in their place and not allow them to ride your mind. They should not be allowed to ride your mind, to snatch away your peace, to snatch away your sleep, to snatch away your smile. That kind of immunity is needed. And the third one is karma yoga. Karma yoga is advice so that it rids your mind of painful vasanas. See, you will do karma only according to your vasana. Whatever is your great desire, your mind and body naturally gravitates towards that. You cannot stop it. That is why everybody's field of action is different, isn't it? Somebody is an artist, somebody is a doctor, somebody is an engineer, somebody is a businessman, because their interest is different. And according to your interest, you act selflessly for the welfare of mankind. Gurudev used to always say that nobody is stopping you from earning money, but earn money in such a way that it benefits people. One question you should always ask before you take up a profession is, will it benefit people? If it is going to benefit only you, then that is not worth doing. Fortunately, most of the things from which you even earn money benefit people. So that is one very important thing. Okay, so then these, the fourth important thing is renouncing the agency. These are all before you begin to meditate. All these things are necessary steps to calm the mind before you can even try to meditate. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, I can assure you. You can sit there, close your eyes with your mind running all over, and then come out of the room congratulating yourself that you have tried. That won't work. Huh? So then, renouncing agency, foolish anxiety. Agency means that I do. Sorry. You have to renounce. You have to renounce agency, and that is renouncing agency. Another thing you have to renounce is foolish anxiety for the future. The fruits of action. I want this particular thing. Anxiety for the fruit. Insistence on the fruit. I am doing this seva. ठीक है मैं तो सेवा. But if you are doing seva, then why are you looking for fruit? The fruit will come. The fruit will come. Action and reaction are equal and opposite. So fruit will come, but you do not have to have anxiety for the fruit. You do not have to, with a very, very anxious, painful mind, and go on asking for the fruit. That is bondage. So you have to rid your mind of the bondage from the fruit. Now, then slowly, slowly the mind will gather itself. Slowly, you will learn to concentrate the mind, and slowly it will road ready. It will become like the car, it will become road ready. So for the journey of meditation, to take the journey of meditation, your mind will become meditation worthy. So then after that, after all these sadhanas, the last thing is meditation. Hmm? And that is, meditate on what? You have to first meditate on yourself, that I need to give up all my known weaknesses. Unless you ruminate, unless you do manan, you cannot discover your own weaknesses. What are the flaws in your temperament? Somebody is short tempered, somebody is jealous, somebody is envious, somebody is something, somebody is something. So you have to see what are your flaws, and those weaknesses you have to get rid of, and you have to replace them with positivities. All the, potent, fuller, meaningful life you have to lead. And keep asking yourself, that is my life a waste? Am I not doing anything for anybody? Am I only living for myself? Because living for yourself is animal existence, as I say again and again. All animals do that. They feed themselves, they feed the young, and that's about it. So if you are only doing for your family and your children and yourself, that is animal living. You have to try to think, what is the purpose of my life? What is the meaning of my life? Is it only this much? That's a very, very low life. So, and then some people live life only to buy trinkets and trifles and tinsels and keep decorating this body. They do this Sharira Radhana. So, sir, you be neat, clean, healthy. Yes, of course. Because this is a vehicle you have to maintain. The body is a vehicle you have to maintain. But just like you maintain the body vehicle, you don't have to spend all your time looking after the body. Believe me, there are some people who spend maximum part of their day looking after only the body. As it is, look how much we do. We eat 3-4 times a day, right? That is Sharir Puja. You bathe, the clothes have to be washed, ironed, this has to be done, that has to be done. Vegetables and fruits have to be brought from the market, other groceries have to be brought from the market, cooking has to be, all that is what? It's Sharir Puja, really. Now, if you are spending all your time in even decorating the body, then so do only what is essential, what is needed, and the rest of the time devote to service of mankind, devote to doing something which will benefit others and benefit people. Now let's come to verse 1. Hmm? Okay. Verse 1. This verse, Gurudev used to say, learn by heart. And also, all my students, I always advise them to learn this by heart. And once you have it by heart, believe me, it helps in time of need. Whenever your mind is agitated, there are certain verses of the Gita which Gurudev made us learn by heart, because he said they will help you in time of need. And really it does. Because when your mind is over anxious, when your mind is sorrowful, when your mind is full of grief, your mind is turbulent, and then suddenly you see this, huh? Yeah, anashrita karma phalam, karyam karma karotiya. The moment that verse comes to your mind, you say, yeah, this is where I'm going wrong. So it is like an elder in the family cautioning you that here, take care, this is where you will fall. Hmm? So these verses come as elders in the family to put you back on track suddenly, or a good friend who will advise you before you jump from somewhere and get hurt, right? So let's do the verse. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyah. So this, देखो इसके words देखो, anashrit karma phalam. I'll read the translation. He who performs his bounden duty without depending on the fruits of action, he is a sannyasi and a yogi, and not he, mark this, not he who has renounced or is without fire and without action. Now देखो ये जो without fire है यहाँ पे निराग्निर्न, second line सी सन्यासी च युगी च न निराग्निर्न न चक्रिया. Okay, people used to understand na niragnir to be without fire. Literal translation is without fire. ठीक है ना? Agni, you know, and niragni, without fire. So people used to think that those people who do not do yagnas and havans are the ones who are hinted at over here. No, he is not hinting at yagna and havan, which was even the misunderstanding of people of Arjuna's time. Agni is the fire, you know, the zest for work, the fiery energy that you put into work, that the enthusiasm with which you work, that is called fire. And kriya, ye dekho cha kriya, last word. Kriya is action, that all of you know, that kriya is action. So he says that sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnirna na chakriya. That means anybody who is without enthusiasm and fire for work, who is without these, who is a dullard, right? And you know, he is a weight on the society, and that he is not a sannyasi. Now, what does this mean? People generally understand that if you take sannyas, then you don't have to do anything. Just give up everything, give up all activities, and just put on those ochre garments, put chandan on your forehead, shave off your head, and that's it. That is the fancy dress of sannyas, as we have said many times. It is, Gurudev used to say, it is a tailor-made and a barber-made sannyas. So tailor-made and a barber-made sannyas is not what he is talking about here. He very clearly says Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir chakriya. But who is the yogi? The first line. Anashrita karma phalam. Who is not depending on the fruit of action. Anashrita. वो आश्रित, he is not depending on the fruit of action. Anashrita karma phalam. And what does he do? Karyam karma karotiya. When he works in the world, see very clearly the Gita says sannyasis are not supposed to just sit without work. He says karyam karma karotiya. The man who works with enthusiasm, with fire, fiery enthusiasm, zest for life, he is the one who is the sannyasi, but he should not be karma ashrita, phal ashrita, that he should not do. So here he is defining a yogi and a sannyasi, both the words he has used. See, sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. So this is, see, the first 10 verses are appetizers, really. The first 10 verses are appetizers before he begins the talk on meditation. He's only trying to tell you that what kind of a mind is fit to even sit for meditation. एक बात ध्यान रखना, you know, these days, meditation, people just do meditation, 1 day, 2 day workshop on meditation. They collect the money from you, all right, of course you do, because everyone is keen to know what is meditation. You have heard the medical benefits of it, you have heard the mental benefits of it, you see the effects, biological effects meditation has on your body, but that is not what meditation is about. So, if there is a 2 days workshop for which you have paid thousands of rupees, or a 3 days workshop, that will only teach you how to relax your mind a little bit for a short while before it bounces back into your vasana activities. So, these first 10 verses are to awaken the curiosity of the seeker. Ke, what should I be doing to do meditation well? And this is the first verse which says, Anashrita karma phalam. So he says, you have not to give up your secular and your sacred duties. Even if you are a sannyasi or you are a yogi, you have to act in this world without dependence on the fruit of action, or for the doership and the result of doership. Now, when you use the word sannyas, सबसे पहले तो दिमाग में आता है that the sannyas has to renounce, sannyasi has to give up. Okay, so what does the sannyasi give up? If you are asking him to give up material things, देखो, you can only give up that which belongs to you. How can you give up that which belongs to someone else? Supposing I say, I've given up my neighbor's car. How can you give up your neighbor's car? It is not yours. It never belonged to you, my dear. So all the things you possessed or possess, even your children, your husband, your wife, they do not belong to you. How do you claim ownership on them? The Lord has used your body to create those children. You have done nothing. You cannot create even a vein in the body of the child. Try. You cannot create even a single hair of that child. You can't. So, what are you talking of creating a full human being? The Lord has used your body and created this beautiful child. ठीक है ना? So it doesn't belong to you. We say my child, but it doesn't belong to you. But nothing in the world belongs to you, not even the mud on which you are standing, not even the ground on which you are standing belongs to you. It all is given by Him. So can you give up what doesn't belong to you? That is not what he is talking about. So then what is sannyas? Sannyas is giving up your vasanas, your desires, your unnecessary wanderings of the mind. That belongs to you. Everybody's vasanas are different. You generate new ones also. You generate new desires every day. I want this and I want that and I want to go here and I want to see that and I want to eat that and I want to drink that and I want to dress up with that, isn't it? So those things are the ones that he talks about giving up when he talks of sannyasi and yogi. Okay. So you've got to also, I have told you that this, when he says fire and kriya, both these things are necessary. You have to do these sacred duties and never, never forget the background of the Gita. Since the background of the Gita is urging Arjun to get up and fight for his rights, then he's not asking him to do ritualism. He is inciting him to fight the battle. Battle is not ritualism. Battle is not havan or yajna. Think about it. So obviously, this verse does not talk, and some commentaries say that is talking about yajna and havan that a sannyasi must do, but that is not what it is saying. It is purifying the inner motives before you enter meditation. Completely purifying the mind before you even sit for meditation. Some people try to jump into meditation from high activity. You will never be able to meditate. And even those who are they ruin all that they have gained during those meditational minutes. I don't say hours because that very few people can do. So, those minutes that you have meditated or tried to meditate, even a iota of peace, if you have got, you ruin it by suddenly jumping into activities. So, this is that. Now, come to verse 2. यम संन्यासमिति प्राहुर योगम तम विद्धि पांडव न ह्यसन्न्यस्त संकल्पो योगी भवति कश्चन. The translation: O Pandava, please know yoga to be that which they call renunciation. Again, see the word renunciation. Yoga, देखो, yoga means joining with something, and renunciation means giving up something. So this looks like a contradiction. Many verses in the Gita, unless they are explained by a teacher, seem to be contradicting themselves. Again, I'll read. Pandav, please know yoga, yoga, as I told you, joining, to be that which they call renunciation. No one verily becomes a yogi who has not renounced thoughts. Renouncing thoughts is the first step, and thereafter you can attach to the Supreme. So, as Gurudev used to say, detach to attach. So, you have to detach from the lower. This is what this verse is saying, that you have to detach from the lower to attach. But lower you will detach later. First, you have to attach. देखो, जब सीढ़ी चढ़ते हैं, when you climbing a ladder, you have to firmly put your foot on the higher rung of the ladder. When you have attached your foot with that, then you can lift the lower foot. Without that, you cannot. The example that I always give is of the child who has picked up a very expensive crystal bowl of yours. He, because of so many lights coming out of it, he holds it in his hand. The moment mama sees and she says, "Oh my God, he's going to drop it and break it," that will be the end of the expensive crystal. So, mama comes with a colorful toy and a toy that makes some noise and comes slowly towards the child. And slowly she shows him the toy and puts her hand under the crystal bowl because the child will suddenly drop the crystal. So it should, before it falls on the ground, the mother should be able to hold it in her hand, right? So when she holds it in her hand, slowly she takes that away and slowly she gives him the toy to play with. So here is the same thing. He is saying that you must first attach to the higher. When you attach to the higher, slowly you will be able to give up the lower, and that is not painful, mind you. Some people think that it is very painful to give up all the things you desire and all the things you have and all the things you run after. It is not painful. They just drop off from you. They will leave you. You don't have to leave them. The doll and the toy car has left you, or you have had to make an effort to drop the doll. You don't make an effort to drop your toys. Similarly in life, thing you always graduate to a more complicated, more beautiful, more expensive toy than the previous one you had, and the previous ones you keep junking. But when you are junking something that you possessed previously, you don't feel sad. You don't want to hold on to it. In fact, you feel very happy that somebody has taken it off you, isn't it? Huh. So he's saying the same thing here. Now, the word sankalpa he uses. देखो एक तो ये दो words जो है ना tam viddhi, they come again and again in the Gita. So learn to recognize them. Tam viddhi means that know this particular thing, understand this carefully, understand very carefully, tam vidhi. So then what are you supposed to give up? A lot of thoughts you have to give up. Meditation is not a physical exercise, it's a mental exercise. So unless and until you wash the mind clean of agitating thoughts in your mind, you cannot rest it. The mind is always running into the future. अच्छा, संकल्प क्या होता है? देखो, संकल्प प्रभवान, हाँ, संकल्प प्रभवान is the mind. It is, sankalpas are very powerful in the mind. Now, there is no one word in English to translate sankalpa. Sankalpa is not just thought. It is a thought which is suggesting you a scheme for higher pleasure, which continuously keep coming in your mind, isn't it? Chalo, let's go for a coffee. Come on, let's go and buy a new dress. And let us see that new restaurant is opened. Have you tried going there? Let's go there. These are sankalpas. All the time, the mind suggesting to you that if you do this, you will be happier. Okay? So that is sankalpa. Now, it's a mad habit of the mind. And the mind, even when you have started going towards what the mind had suggested, the mind has already changed the goal. It has already suggested to you one more sankalpa. ये तो तुम कर ही रहे हो, लेकिन this will not give you that much of joy as that will give you. So this is dropped and you start running towards something else. So it is a constant mad habit of an ever active mind. Sankalpas bring turbulence in your mind. Sankalpas bring agitation in your mind. So you can only give up these lower sankalpas when you attach your mind to a higher goal. If you understand that in higher meditation, your mind will become very, very peaceful, it will become very, very quiet. It is only at that time that you leave a sankalpa for a coffee. You want to do something which will give you greater pleasure. So, sankalpas always destroy your attempts at calming your mind. So, you should see sankalpa. He says that you have to give up. No one verily becomes a yogi who has not renounced thoughts. Thoughts over here are sankalpas. Now, देखिए, संकल्पों को रोकने के लिए some sadhanas are advised. And they are called Bahiranga sadhana for the early seeker like us. What is Bahiranga sadhana? Bahiranga sadhana is not a mental sadhana, it is a sadhana you do with your body. Outer. Bahiranga means bahar word jante ho na? So Bahiranga means outer sadhana. So what is the outer sadhana? Karma yoga, japa, tap, niyam, asan, pratyahar, pranayam, dharana, and then you go to samadhi. You cannot automatically or suddenly go to samadhi. वो नहीं हो सकता है. It is not possible. देखो, samadhi means dhi is the mind and sama means equal, poised, equipoised. So to make the mind equipoised is not easy. And from this is your words samadhi. जब आप शादी करते हैं अपने बच्चों की, the parents of the spouse of your child, you call samadhi. Samadhi means one who's like one who's in thinking with you, whose mind is like yours. That is the word samadhi and samadhin. That is why you look for families that would be like your own family, so that the son or the daughter can adjust easily. If the family is way different, they are not samadhi, है ना? So if they are not samadhi, then adjustment becomes all the more difficult. It happens, but takes more effort, much more effort, isn't it? So samadhi, the word samadhi means when the mind is equally poised, equally, and all the distracting sankalpas, negative sankalpas of the mind are reversed. Okay. So now let us come to the third verse. I will just read it quickly because there's not much time. Let me see if I can give you this. आरुरुक्षोर्मुनेर्योगं कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढस्य तस्यैव शमः कारणमुच्यते. Now, this verse says, for a muni, a sage, who wishes to attain yoga, action is said to be the means. देखो, it is not saying give up action. ध्यान देना, very carefully. Those who think Gita advises giving up action, very mistaken. Look, for a muni, a sage, even not even ordinary people like us, but for a muni who wishes to attain yoga, action is said to be the means. And for the same sage who has attained to yoga, inaction, quiescence, is said to be the means. So, देखो दो चीजें contradictory again. Contradictory statements are again advised over here. What are the contradictory statements? This metaphor is a riding metaphor. It has been taken from riding. If any of you have learned to ride or at least seen other people riding, mounting a steed, the steed, if it is a wild horse, it makes it very difficult for you to mount it. One foot is on the ground. With one hand you are holding the stirrups, not stirrups, the reins. With one hand, you are holding the seat, and then the other leg you lift and jump up and throw it across the horse before you sit on the horse. So that is a big effort. But once you are seated on the horse and you have the wild animal between your two knees, and your feet are nicely in the stirrups, it is easy to control the horse, and you have the reins in your hand. So a good rider very easily is able to control the horse. But getting on top of a wild horse that is not steady, is jumping about, running about, it's difficult. So this verse is only saying that even a Muni is a person who does manan, deep thinking, जो बहुत ज्यादा मननशील, manan is very very deep introspective thinking, who does that is a Muni. And even for him, when he wishes to attain yoga, it says action is said to be the means. हाँ, देखो, you cannot attain meditative poise without going through physical activities selflessly. You have to. And here it is that unless and until that he mounts the steed, his mind, he cannot control the wild animal. Wild animal here is the mind. The wild horse that is given out here, this is a metaphor. So the wild horse is the mind. To mount the mind is difficult. But once you have mounted the mind, then the game becomes easier. So, the whole idea of all these sadhanas is an effort to become effortless. Carefully. All your Bahiranga sadhanas are an effort to gain effortlessness. And without putting in that effort, you will not be able to mount the mind and control the mind. Huh? So, see, once under control and once you are the master of the steed, then the horse has to listen to your commands. The reins are in your hand. You are astride the horse with your knees pressing on the horse, the feet firmly in the stirrups, and you sitting firmly in the saddle. How can the horse go about? You are controlling the horse, right? So the only thing that this metaphor is telling us is that till the time your mind is firmly in your own control, you cannot give up action. And it is very very important that देखो, दो चीजें यहाँ कही है ना, कर्मा एंड गिविंग अप कर्मा ऑल्सो, दे आर serially to be done. People like you and I cannot live without karma. We have to act, we have to work, and we have to show action. Our mind cannot rest unless we act, isn't it? So, action is advised to people like us who are trying to, dekho, wishes to attain yoga. Those who are trying to attain yoga, seekers, action is advised to them. But somebody who has attained yoga, dekho, the word is attained yoga. Somebody who has already attained yoga, for him actionlessness is advised, because action only disturbs him then after. Whenever he does action, his mind starts jumping about. And this has to be done slowly, slowly, not suddenly. Even after he has mounted the steed, it is very, very slowly, slowly that the horse comes into his control. So when you give up actions, it's not one fine day I retire. No. Your mind will keep jumping. You cannot give up action like that. So you have to give up action bit by bit, slowly, 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 slowly. You have to retire from very, very active life, not just one fine day. Slowly give the reins to the next generation. and slowly, slowly come steps. Like Gurudev used to say, don't think out of your house. You cannot, you will run back to your house after a month. He says, if you want to go and stay in an ashram, start doing it little by little. First, go for 2, 3 days. Liked it very much. Then, after 6 months, go for another week. Liked it, and you could sustain that. Then, 15 days. Then, for a few months on end. Huh? Leave the world of action slowly, slowly for the younger generation and retire from very active life to a life of peace, quietude, bliss, and meditative poise. So that slowly will happen. You will be working on your mind. You will get time to work on your mind, but this has to be done serially. So, first action and then inaction is advised to the same person, but he has to mature into inaction, not jump into it immediately. So, this much for today. We'll take up next time, verse 4. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम